All right. I'm gonna hide the chat because I know how I am. All right, so as we are here, thank you guys so much for joining me on a Tuesday afternoon during lunchtime, no less, to hear me talk about one of the most boring, maybe not most boring, but a lot of people don't like doing this, standard operating procedures for your business. So technical writing, all that stuff. I try to make it jazzed up and say duplicating, but yeah, we're gonna be talking about standard operating procedures for like the next 20 minutes. So I'm excited about that. This is based off the framework. I have my company name, The Lazy Millennial. The laziness actually has a framework behind it, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But with standard operating procedures, I'll get into the definition and everything. But overall, when we become business owners, we also take on the role as a CEO. And with CEOs, they know how to delegate. And in order to delegate, we have to be very clear on our processes. We got to know who to delegate to, and also what kind of things to delegate. And if you have a particular way you like things done, you need to be able to have enough information written down so the person can duplicate that process so you can get it done. So that's where duplication comes from. Laziness, I'll get into all that good stuff in just a moment. I could talk about that all day, but I won't. But let's go ahead. A little bit about me. Just want to point out, I do have a QR code. So if you are on the computer and want to scan it with your phone, feel free to do so. I will also email this out at the end of the presentation as well. So if you're on your phone, I tend to be on my phone too. There's like a way you can do it, but don't ask me about that. I just learned about that like last month. So if you're on your phone and you know how to do it, you can do it that way as well. Follow me on social media if you're not already. But yeah, so currently my title is an online operations manager. This is why I do like the technical writing, because what I do is making sure the businesses are operating at its full capability. And in order to do that, we got to make sure things are documented and we know like where things are going, all their goals, systems are in place, all that good stuff. So I got to make sure everything is running. Failed VA agency owner. I didn't know what I was doing. I started out as a virtual assistant and it seemed like the next logical thing was to become an agency owner because it seemed like everybody was doing that. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and try that. Didn't know anything about pricing structure. I didn't know about standard operating procedures that well. So long story short, it did not work out very well. And after that failure, I realized once I got my own SOPs in order, I decided to help some clients that I was with theirs, and then they realized they actually didn't need a virtual assistant. They ended up dropping off. And I was like, you know what? More businesses need to know this, especially those online, because I feel like with the online business world, we kind of forget this aspect of business, even though it's really important. Like other businesses do it, they should do it anyway, but it tends to be forgotten. So anyway, that's where this came from. And I was like, I want to focus on this, and here we are. Past life, I just add that in. I was always like the employee doing like the management stuff. So I've actually done, I didn't realize I was actually doing this, but I've actually done like the policy books and whatnot for other managers and businesses I worked in. But of course, I got the employee pay with it. So yeah, don't go above and beyond if you don't need to, or if you're not being paid for it, and if you're not being acknowledged for it. Highly do not recommend. And then the lazy framework, lead, automate, Zandy, and yield. Just the background with that, leaders, when it comes to operating your business, this is where I'm going to briefly go over this because I really want to go into SOPs. But the framework behind this and why I focus on standard operating procedures, because there is a whole host of things that go into it rather than just writing down your business processes. So like one, L, the leader, you're seen as a leader. Normally you have like a main key thing people know about you, so they go to you for that. I like to highlight that through the standard operating procedures. Automate, self-explanatory, like we should be automating certain parts of our business. So that's like a thing we cover. Zanny, this is my favorite one. So if you know the technical definition of this is someone that is not off brand, but like they are weird. They kind of don't fit into the norm. And I see that as business owners because we start our businesses for whatever reason, but it's not the normal path. Like the normal path, people are like, oh, you need to get a job or you need to go to college, you need to do this, that, and the third. I feel like business owners are weird. So I went ahead and let me go ahead and make sure I got these people coming in. Business owners are weird. So yeah, so that's where that came in. And this is where the duplication and stuff comes in for that one. But that's where that duplication SOPs comes in under the Z. Then yield, you got to show results, because if you're in business, we got to show results. Like it is what it is for that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and finally dive into the actual presentation. I'm going to check the chat real quick. So yeah, you gotta do an introduction. Awesome, keep it running. Introductions. If you're new or if you're just coming in here, I was saying, please drop in the chat what you're doing. I'm going to be saving this chat and emailing this out so you guys can stay connected, because I fully believe in connecting with other people, other business owners, whoever it is. Like, connections are big, especially when it comes to running businesses. So highly recommend you just drop your stuff in the chat and just keep it going. All right, so before we dive into the presentation, I wanted to give like an overview of technical terms, because sometimes I forget to do that. So before I begin, I just want to kind of go over what may be mentioned and what my mindset is behind that. So of course we have SOPs. They are the documented way you run your business. So every little detail of how you're running your business, there's like a step that can actually be documented. It can be on video, it could be text, whatever it is, but the point of it is for someone to be able to come inside your business and duplicate what you're doing, the processes that you're doing. So SOPs, that's the main thing. Technically standard operating procedures, but it sounds better saying documented way how you run your business, easiest way. Process, this is the step-by-step action we take to achieve a goal. So like for me, the process for you guys enrolling for today's class is like, I had to use Acuity. I was on my website, but that was a hot mess. But the step-by-step process, I want you guys to go through Acuity. I wanted you guys to get an email. So my mapping down like the process, the client journey for that, that's a process I wrote into. And that goes into my classes, workshop systems I have going on in place. But we'll go into that in just a moment. Systems, these are a collection of all your business processes, the SOPs, the software, anything related to that actual processes. For like, I broke it down like marketing, onboarding. There are so many components inside our business, like the financial pieces, we have the operations pieces, like day-to-day operations. You may have some kind of operations for launches, all that stuff. There's different systems within those. So the systems are kind of broken down into those compartments. That's the easiest way to keep up with them. So when you hear systems, I'm talking about like the whole shebang, not just like the process for coming to today's class, using the link, Zoom link or whatever. And then documentation, running things down on paper. It can be real paper. I prefer pen and paper, or it can be documents or all these mind mapping apps that they have. They have a bunch of stuff out there. So stuff like that, whatever you're documenting on, this is where you kind of write down all your business processes. Is not going to be pretty in the beginning, but the point is to get it down and then start organizing it later. So mouthful. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Otherwise, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it going. If so, okay, I don't see nothing. If I miss it, please hang back. I'm sorry, y'all. All right, so just diving in, I want to get started with personal SOPs and team SOPs. So this is where I like to break down different things. Not different things, the difference between the standard operating procedures, because yes, there are processes for literally everything in business, but not everyone needs to have access to it. So starting with the personal standard operating procedures, this is where your visions, your goals, and all that good stuff. So like people do vision boards. Your vision boards go inside there. Some people have business plans they may have done. Your business plan goes in here. So all the things that make up your business from inside your mind, they all go in here. So the personal standard operating procedures, all that stuff goes inside there. So like your yearly planning, what is your mission, your vision, everything you are going to pass down to your team is going to come from the personal standard operating procedures. So that's why it's important to start with that stuff first and get into the habit of doing this stuff. You're doing this stuff yourself first. That's a tongue twister. Doing this stuff first. So what did I write down? Yeah. So with the team standard operating procedure, this is the one that's more widely known. So like when you think of SOPs, a lot of people will go straight to, oh yeah, the employee handbook or the policy books or whatever businesses have. I don't know. There's a lot of different binders and stuff that some businesses have, but it really starts from here, because you as the owner and CEO, or if you're just the head of a department at work, like everything's going to fall on you. Like people are going to be using your mindset to kind of like carry on things. So like, let's say you're the business owner, you want to make, I'm using examples. This is a popular example. A lot of people want to make $10,000 a month. I'm not sure where this number randomly came from, but this is like the goal for a lot of people. So with your personal standard operating procedures, your goal is to make 10K a month. With that, you got to start developing processes for that. So your goal is to make 10K a month. So from there, like, how do I make 10K a month? You got to break down the services. Like, what services are you offering? So if you're starting out, this is where the business plan is really handy. And I highly recommend, if you don't have one, just to start off by doing that, because once you have the business plan, it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be a couple sentences in each thing. You don't have to think too far ahead. It's really good for grants and all, like, whatever plans you have coming up. So I highly recommend business plan. If you don't have a business plan, it's cool too. I didn't have one in the beginning, so. But I recommend just think about the goals, like 10K a month. So get back on track. You want to make 10K a month. Cool. We got to figure out what kind of services you want to do. You got to figure out the pricing of those services. You got to figure out like the budget, like what am I making in my home life? What do I need to make inside of my business, and like all the leftover, adding that stuff up, taxes. You got to think about the fees that we got to pay, all that good stuff. A lot of people don't think about this stuff whenever they're thinking like the numbers. It just kind of like pulling it out, like out there behind. I know I did that too. Like I wanted to make a certain amount. Like I wanted to make 5K a month. That was like one of mine. Made 5K and had nothing to show for it because I wasn't really thinking about like, oh, how much do I actually want to pay my team, or like what is the actual mission of my company? So overall, before I go down a deep spiral of rambling, overall, their personal SOPs, if you're going to make goals or any goals for this, you just need to make sure that you actually have a process to follow and really hammer out the details of those processes, because this is where the team SOPs come in. So let's say that you already started doing the work, like you figured out the services that you're going to do, you figured out how you're going to promote, and now you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting overwhelmed. I want to fast forward a bit. Let's say that you already have been in business for a little bit, like you're making progress. You like how certain things are ran. You know, you may need some help down the line. So you're kind of like in the middle, like, oh, do I really need to hire somebody for this? Or this is where like the fear comes in for hiring. So my recommendations for that when it comes to personal SOPs and then switching over to like getting ready to hire, one, still use the goal setting mindset when it comes to that. But the thing is with that, if you are going to be, let's say that you know how to do this stuff. So if it's a task that you know how to do and you've been doing it continuously and you've been actually executing that task. So like one of the things is like, I've been promoting on social media. Let's say that you've been doing awesome with reels. You like how your reels are going. You're not sure how you want to delegate that stuff out, or you've been posting posts. I said reels. I don't really care for posting reels. But anyway, so let's say that's been going well. Like you feel like you're going to need help with that, but you're like, I don't know, how am I supposed to let someone know what I want done or what needs to be scheduled and stuff for my social media? This is where the personal SOPs come in. So like if you like how your process is going with something, make sure that is written inside that component. I recommend having like a little space for like social media marketing, or like in your marketing processes or whatever marketing system component, you have something for social media. If you like how things are going, you like how you execute stuff, make sure it's noted. Like I like posting reels 3 times a day. I like talking about this and I want it to focus on this. Little things like that. Again, doesn't have to be organized, but it is what it is. So if you're going to be hiring somebody, but they aren't entirely sure, you're not entirely sure how it's supposed to run. So like you're hiring maybe a consultant to help you with your business plan, or you're about to hire someone to build like a CRM for you, things like that. You may have an idea of how you want things to go, but you're not entirely certain on how to do it. This is where you kind of come up with the goal setting. Like, this is what I want the end result to be. This is what I imagine. And then the person that you actually hire, get some people in. The person that you hire will help guide you through that process for it and help you come up with that. But overall, long story short, everything that you think of, like your goals, mindset, things that you are doing, you want to make sure you have this stuff written down first. Again, does not have to be perfect. Google Docs, if you use a mind map like Jira, I think Miro, something, I'm probably messing it up, but whatever you're using, whatever software that you're using, make sure whenever you get ready to hire the person, you kind of clean it up a bit so that way you can pass along to them. And I'll kind of dive in more when you have to start documenting stuff. But personal SOPs, always start with this first, because all of this that you come up with in your personal SOPs is what you're going to pass down to somebody else. So whenever you're hiring somebody, they're going to want to know things that you may have written inside your SOPs and your personal SOPs. The team SOPs, this is stuff that you can actually share. You want people to know, like mission and vision, like, yes, you want particular teammates to know. Not everyone may need to know that. So you can pick and choose where to share inside the team SOPs. Whereas your personal SOPs, that's just you and whoever else is helping you compose that. So that was a lot. I'm gonna pause real quick. If you have any questions about that, I will go ahead and answer that real quick. Otherwise, I'll just keep it moving so we can get through these slides. All right. I will go ahead. Next one. How exactly do you document? All right. Ooh, had to drink some water, y'all. I'm sorry. So how do you document? How do you even get started with this stuff with standard operating procedures? So first things first, start by jotting notes in the area. Like I said, Google Docs is one. A lot of people use like the different websites where they can kind of like do like the brain mapping. Wherever you feel like it's important at, start jotting it down. The main point is to jot it down. It may be in like 3 different softwares. I know I'm guilty of that. So write it down and keep it in a place where you know you're actually going to check it, because that's another thing too. Like just writing it down is not enough. You have to be in a place where you're going to actually remember to check it out and actually update it and all that good stuff. I highly recommend finding one particular place to write things down. I always say Google Docs or Microsoft Office or whatever document things that you can use so you can make the folders and stuff, and just kind of get in the habit of doing that. Because all documentation is just create another habit inside your business. But yeah, so how do I document? Again, showing the what and the how. So when you're doing standard operating procedures, especially when it comes to hiring team members, you're going to want to show them, especially, let me rephrase that. You show them the how if it's something that you're already executing and you like how things are being executed. So if you have like a particular way you like to do things inside your business for particular services and things of that nature, you're going to want to show the other team members how that's done versus like tell them what, like, hey, like make sure you send out these emails each day. And then how you're actually going to break down like the how part. So like, I want you to send out daily emails. So what I want you to do is log into this particular email. I want you to go to this template, and then I want you to go ahead and schedule it for 1 p.m. Eastern, whatever steps you want to take. But showing the what, telling people what is not enough sometimes, especially if you have things that you like to be done. So that's one thing. And then also too, using video usually comes in whenever you're showing someone the house, like when you're doing the video documentation, like you're telling people, like I just said, like the email. So you're showing them how, like walking through the steps, like how do you send out an email using this particular email? So you're going to walk through each of the steps. Like first you're going to log in through, we use LastPass. So I say LastPass, go through LastPass, go to this particular email. Next step, you're going to go ahead and go to create new email. And then next step, you're going to pick up template, pretty much step by step. You want to really break it down for somebody because you don't want to leave room for wonder. And so when you're doing that, and then when doing the videos, you just want to make sure. I try to recommend keeping them around 5 minutes because we got to think of the type of people we're going to be attracting into our company. No matter how big or small you want to keep your company business, you still got to think about like, who's the type of people I'm actually going to be bringing in. Like this generation that we're about to bring in, so like our companies working for us and stuff, they're not about to pay attention to no 30-minute video. I don't even pay attention to stuff like that. So it's like kind of keeping up with the trends. Of course, you can't keep something for like 8 seconds, but keeping them short and then making sure they stay inclusive by adding captions, transcripts, things of that nature too. You want to make it, excuse me, you want to make it super dummy proof, but you also want to pay attention to how people learn and the different styles and stuff. And then also too, using text, I kind of skipped ahead and did that. Using text, how to summarize stuff. So like something, I'll show an example on the next slide. But yeah, I'll show the example. So I'll kind of stop there for that one. The added bonus, I said the blog style. So how I usually do things, like when you're showing the how and creating a video, you can show them the video. You can also take screenshots within the video. This is something that we do too, taking the pictures, like, okay, step 1, you're going to go to this one, go to LastPass, take a picture of LastPass within the video. Step 2, you're going to go to create new. Step 2 will show like the picture of step 2, hitting the create new email. Step 3, create template, things of that nature. Like, hopefully I'll catch my drift of that. But that is another awesome way to also show too, like the standard operating procedures. It makes things more inclusive as well, because again, different learning styles, not everyone learns really well with video. So this is more kind of like down the line stuff. But overall, when you get started, the main thing I want you to take away from this, how do we document? Start off by making notes somewhere that's accessible by everybody. Or like if you plan to hire, people can access it, or you can easily share it with somebody. You don't want to keep it in all these different software and programs that you may or may not use day to day. And so keeping it somewhere where, one, you pay attention to, and two, if you need to share it to somebody or copy and paste it somewhere, it's already there. So that's just the main takeaway from that. These are kind of like extra as you build. So like if you're just starting out, just focus on taking notes. It's not like, again, it's not going to be pretty or really organized. It's just the point that you just need to get started with it. Excuse me. And then also too, if you are a little more inside business, or like you're managing a particular area and you have a way you like things done, then yes, please do a video showing the breakdown. I like using Loom for that stuff. There's a bunch of software you can use. So it just depends on how you want to use it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this slide. If there's any questions, feel free to utilize it in the chat. I will go ahead and check this right now. Do you suggest a brain dump? Yes. Yes. That's actually how I have clients do it now. Like we do brain dumps. Somebody also recommended too, what they do is just talk to like a mic. I think Google Doc has something, but whatever. You could talk into something like Otter. Like I have Otter going. You can just walk through, talk things out inside your head, go back, copy and paste into a document and call it a day. But yes, definitely start with brain dumping. I find that's the easiest way, because if you're trying to sit there and fill out forms, I know for me, if I have to fill out a lot of forms and questionnaires and stuff, I get very overwhelmed. So just start with the brain dump. Again, paragraphs. It doesn't have to be pretty. I call it pretty like organized and bullet points and stuff. It doesn't have to look like that. But yeah, definitely a brain dump. And then when it comes to brain dumping, just to kind of clarify that a little bit more too, when you're brain dumping, I would definitely focus on the processes maybe you want to do for like the month. So like if you want to focus more on promoting on Facebook, and then like another process, you want to start preparing to launch something, then yes, I would focus on doing those two more so than anything else, and then kind of working your way up. Because if you try to do too much at once, it's going to be a lot and it gets really overwhelming and it may or may not get done. So hopefully that answered that. But feel free to hang back too. But yes, brain dump, brain dump, brain dump. That's the easiest way. All right, I'm gonna go to the next slide real quick. So this is just like a quick look just how to show how the video and text standard operating procedure may look. This is very outdated. Let me change this photo out. But overall, when you are doing this is for the team SOP, by the way, y'all. So when you're doing like stuff for the team SOPs, like I mentioned, doing the videos is really helpful. You do not have to do videos for every little process. Sometimes the instructions are enough. The policies and stuff are just enough. And you can have that in separate documents or wherever you're keeping stuff. I'm using Trainual, or I'm switching over to Trainual. And with this one, it just shows like you have like the text, you're kind of giving like an overview what the video is. And if you want to, you can even break it down a little further and give them like, first you're gonna go here, 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 and here. Right here would be very good for like what we call the blog style documentation. So like taking the photos and doing the step-by-step process of how to do stuff. But overall, if you're using a video with the transcript and captions, again, I love Loom for that. But you can use anything for that. You have the text, overview, video, and then they can play it, see how that works. I always recommend having the transcript because some people prefer to read and just kind of like replay the video and kind of like follow along that way. Again, it's just kind of like one of those things. You don't have to necessarily do it, but I like to try to keep people ahead of the game, and this is what people are going to be looking for. So this is what I usually recommend is do, just starting out. But again, do not start this part until you already have like processes that you're actually executing, or you have one of those things like, I like the way I do stuff here. I want other people to copy that. So just keep it like that. Don't worry about videos until you're at the point where you're continuously executing a process that you actually like. In the meantime, document, brain dump, organize it as you can, and you're good. Like you're good. You're already way ahead. We are super ahead if you just do like the documentation, brain dumps, and just keep it updated every 3 to 6 months. So any questions there before I go to the next slide? I'm gonna drink me a sip of water because Lord, my throat. Okay, so I think we're good here. And how to start the duplication. Oh my gosh, duplication process. Lord Jesus. All right. So how do you start this process? First, you look at your yearly goals and you break it up by quarter. I always start by the year. So like it's a fresh year, you can start by like the mid-year. It depends, whatever you consider a year where you want to start at. If you want to start your year in March, start your year in March. But what you're going to do, look at your year. What are you trying to do for this year? Then break it up by the quarter. I found that's the easiest way. So, okay, I'm going to start my year in March. I'm going to break it up by this quarter. I'm going to start with January. I don't know if I'm doing math right now. So my year starts in January. So for Q1, I'm going to focus on January, February, March. What can I get done in Q1 realistically? And how am I going to get there? And so that's just one way to look at it. So like once you have like your yearly goals, you keep that like a little thing, brain dump the yearly goals that you want to do, then break that up. Which goal do you want to start with first? I'll just kind of bring back 10K again. Like my yearly goal is to make 10K in revenue. I want to help 100 entrepreneurs by doing classes. I want to do this, that, and the third, whatever your goals are. And then take one of those goals. We'll say, I want to start with 10K. Like that is my top goal I want to do. And I want to start really hammering on that. For the quarter, you got to focus on trying to bring your company to 10K. So in order to do that, you just got to break it up. And like I mentioned earlier, break it down to services, brain dumping how you're going to make that realistic. And then as you work through the process, if you can make pivots, go back and change what's working, what's not working. And by you doing that, you're honestly staying on top of KPIs, like the measurements that, well, things that you measure as success in your business, things of that nature. I'm not going to talk about that today, but keep an eye out. That will be happening soon. But as you keep things updated and monitor your processes, you're also going to be updating a whole bunch of other stuff without even realizing it. So yeah, so starting off with that. And then also too, keeping track of everything that you use. It sounds simple, but as somebody that sometimes will buy stuff, especially on AppSumo, like I'll buy stuff, forget it's there, or sometimes I'll start like a free trial or something, forget, and then I'm getting charged for it and things of that nature. So keeping an itemized list is very helpful. So also too, if you're using something or like if you're planning to hire somebody, you already know what to use, you know what you're using it for, and you can train. It depends. That goes into like a delegation thing, because there are certain instances where you can train people and where you can't train people, because independent contractors, employees, huge difference. But anyway, just keeping track of everything is one thing. And then also drafting your processes before implementing and executing. So for me, I break up implementing and executing differently when it comes to implementing your processes. So when you're implementing, let's say that you're getting ready to launch something, like I want to make 10K a month. So I want to start implementing these new things. I want to raise the prices of my services. I'm going to add it to the website. I want to make all these changes. I implemented these changes. So like I started the process to actually go through like the whole thing. And then executing is when I see it through, because a lot of times we kind of get stuck in implementing. Like you make announcements, you're like, I'm going to go ahead and do this thing. I'm going to launch this. I'm going to do the service. And then you never get a chance to actually like see it through. You never got a person through there. Whatever you consider executing, you never saw it through. So I break that up too. And I like to make note of that for people as well. So like, did you implement it? Like, did you get it set in stone, or did you actually like execute like the service? Like, did people actually go through the process? So you can actually get the measurements from that. Things of that nature. So implementing, executing. So like with processes too, that makes a huge difference as well, because you can write things down, but if you didn't execute it, it's just kind of, it's there. Like that may be good. Like if you come back to it and want to like maybe launch it officially, like that works great. But if you didn't execute, it does no good. So like if you're trying to pass on to like a team member, or like you hire somebody to kind of like finish up and execute the actual thing, it may look different because you didn't execute it yourself first. So you don't know what to expect. So it may, even though it looks good on paper, and then you actually get a chance to actually execute it. It's just like, okay, so what happened? And then sometimes you look at the person that you hired, like, well, you're the expert, that's supposed to happen, but they're following the processes that you did. So those are some things to keep in mind, and something I try to mention before you hire. So like, if you have one thing in mind, that's why it's super important just to work with whoever you do hire, so you can get like both sides, realistic measurements and stuff that could happen. But yeah, so that's something I want to throw in there. And then also creating the habit of documenting before hiring. Ideally, this is ideal, but a lot of times, again, when it comes to documenting businesses processes, a lot of people don't think about it until the very end. So sometimes they may already have team members and are kind of backtracking, or they're already at the point like, I don't have time to even do all this stuff. So if you don't have time, it's fine. You don't have to be completely perfect. No one is. I'm not. And I do this. And this is what I do. My stuff's not neither. Like, if you're at the point where you've already hired, you're kind of like backtracking, again, start back with like, what is the goals for the quarter, or what's the goals for the month? Focus on getting that stuff done first, or like, what's the stuff that they need right now? Start with that one particular thing and work your way down the list. Because if you're trying to do everything, or like, I need to update everything, it's not going to get done, and you're going to get very overwhelmed. So just starting with that one thing is ideal. So that's my 2 cents on that. But overall, how to start with your goals, because again, it starts with you. It starts with your personal goals. You are the owner, you're the visionary CEO. You're the one that's going to be in charge of duplicating, unless you're one of the people that started out and you already had your people set. Then kudos to you. Whoever your CEO is, make sure they have that in place. If you're in charge of something at work, you're like the manager person of a department, again, it still falls on you. Like, you communicate with the higher up, you bring it down to the team members, you got to be able to communicate that stuff and bring it to life. So goals, and then just making sure that you have the processes articulated, and then also things, if it's implemented, executed, things of that nature, so you can actually get like really good feedback and you know where to make changes, versus just kind of like winging it. Winging it is cool, but if you have it written down, you want to make sure it's something that you plan to test or execute it before you try to pass it down as something else. But that's another problem too. People write down something they want to implement, or they started implementing, but they didn't execute. So then whoever is doing the execution, they kind of get like a side eye, like, why'd they go like that? When in reality, it's us. Like, we gotta stay on top of that stuff. And yeah, so check chat real quick. We're good. And that's all I got for y'all for the recording. I think I went a little over, but that's all right. So if you have to go, feel free to do so. If you're watching the recording, this is it. I would love if you give feedback. This is very basic introduction to standard operating procedures. So yeah, feel free to leave your feedback on that. And I am going to get ready to turn this off. It's going to leave this up for just a brief moment. And if you want to stay, if you're here live, you want to stay and ask questions or get feedback, feel free to do so. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me on live and the recording. I said that's so backwards, but I'm going to stop that. But thank you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this now. So I'm going to stop share, stop recording.